Shit, I muted all the time. Oh no. How did this happen? Hello guys. Was I muted all the time? Okay. Unlucky. How was hanging with the parents? Well, good enough for day one. We just came home basically. Long day. Oops. Praise the sun. What does that mean? Nah, I'm just joking. Oh, it's nice that they're here. Seems like they're enjoying their time. Yeah, I was talking to Shiftwalk about you're done with the season and you can do pit 90 and stuff. I mean, you just reroll, I guess, at some point. Make another character. I mean, I do like 15 builds or something in the season. Hi, YouTube as well. Okay, we have a lot of like patch changes to go through. I guess you do something like this. Okay, I guess I put myself here. So many Spiritborn changes compared to the rest of the classes. I mean, Spiritborn has a lot of fixes to do, right? And I mean, most of the stuff is relatively irrelevant. Like if you're talking about, for example, you know, these ring changes, I don't think any of them really matter. I don't think we're suddenly gonna start using this or this or this. I mean, this is basically just a stinger build. I mean, here it comes down to, do those cooldown reduction effects count for non-base Eagle skills? Like if you just use the Harmony or Eagle Hall, for example, then that could be a bit interesting, especially since cooldown reduction in general is kind of gutted. I think that is actually going to be something interesting to check out, like how are cooldown values actually? If we take, I don't know, let's take the Season 9 Stinger build and see what happens with like the new system, for example. Here. So basically you have to like reset everything to 0 masterwork. And then we can think about, okay, making something a GA, right? We're gonna have 1 GA from the item and we're gonna have 1 GA from the masterwork, basically. So we get 2 guaranteed GAs on every item. Like there's definitely one nice system, one nice result of the system, which is something I realized, which is you will always have guaranteed perfect temper with enough attempts, and you will always get exactly the GA you want, no matter what, right? So that's kind of the cool part about this masterwork change, I think. Are you understanding correctly that the purified and corrupted stuff you actually want purified? You start with corrupted and cleanse it and drop the negative and keep the positive. Now, I think that the corrupted is still valuable because it adds more stuff. So I think the purified is the big one that you want, and then you choose to add the corrupted as well, I think. Or maybe you start corrupted, make it purified, and then you can still add corrupted again or something like that. So I'm not 100% sure, but something like this, I think. The Sorc channels are whining so much. Yeah, I could imagine they're gonna unnerf teleport a little bit. Or they're gonna nerf other classes' mobility more. It's kind of weird that they nerfed only the teleport, but not like Rogue Dash, Shadow Step. They buffed Barb, Leap, and all that. They buffed Barb, Charge, and Leap, actually. Massively. But I think people still think about Season 11 like it's Season 10. Season 11 is not Season 10. We're not gonna have the same cooldown across the board. Death Trap doesn't exist. You know, monsters are harder, fights are longer. So I think it's gonna be not as bad as people think, even with the guarded teleport. Why are they taking away Chaos Uniques? Because they are also problematic in many ways, I think. And maybe they're gonna bring part of it back. It's just that Blizzard is relatively slow at reacting to something like this, right? So they made Chaos Uniques and they realized, okay, people like that stuff. And I don't know, maybe in half a year from now we're gonna see something like that, right? But they're not able to like just take it and transform it into something permanent, it seems. Is Season 11 the expansion? Well, looking at the patch notes, it seems like it, but actually no. Turns out there's more. You're maintaining a skepticism on being harder. I mean, you have to see that, number one, leveling is certainly going to be harder because you don't start with 12 points. Plus you have to go for the capstones. And you get less legendaries, less loot, and so on. And also, like, once they talk about endgame, like, every build drops by 20 plus pit tiers, at least, on all classes. You know, we're talking about a factor of times 10, times 20, times 30 damage output that everyone is losing. So I would definitely consider the game harder now. In addition to the monster changes where, you know, they're harder, better, faster, stronger. Stuff selling for 9% less is wild. Yeah, we're gonna be vendor farming. Let's go. You just feel like they will listen to the rages and make it easier? Yeah, I guess we'll see. I could imagine that, you know, PDR might be over-nerfed, and then they can still up it from there, right? Which is a way better approach than making the PTR too good and then nerfing it for the live patch, because then people rage even more. It's also harder to gauge how bad is it when everything is overtuned, right? Over they bring Iron Maiden from D2 and invulnerable monsters. Yeah, we were all waiting for invulnerable minions, I think. That's the thing. You think your favorite leveling experience was in Season 2? Yeah, Vampire title was fun. You and your minions do no damage every 3 seconds out of 10. Login. Yeah, beautiful. Mini Golem Iron Maiden build, trust. I think there is some mechanic where where your minions attack what you curse or something like that, right? But you kind of curse the entire screen, so I'm not sure if that really helps. Yeah, I'd like to call the monsters now, or like the new elites are just Daft Punk elites, you know? Is 100 mil on Quacks on softcore a fair price? That sounds like you're getting hard scammed to me. Quacks is a yellow rune. No one gives a fuck. 100 mil is what I sell, like the good runes, like a Ohm on hardcore. Banger. Oh man. I think Barb in general is looking really good. Necro, I mean, purple golems Kinda cool, but who knows. Rogue. Pure Dark. Maybe. No Orphan Maker changes. Sage. That's what I remember. So this is like my takeaway so far. Sorc. F teleport. New weapon. Might be Giga though. Okay. And then Spiritborn. I'm not sure. So I guess we have to go through that a little bit. But what I actually wanted to see is like, well, what actually happens with like cooldown values and so on. This is actually something I'm interested in. So like, remember, we can now choose 2 guaranteed, okay, not guaranteed, but we can choose 1 guaranteed GA and, you know, 1 more GA that we're just gonna add as kind of like, you should have this. But it can, now we can also imagine a GA on our tempers. So GA on our tempers is very close to just having this basically, right? If you have a GA on 20%, it would be 30, and this becomes 29, so it's almost there. But I think realistically you have to like manually calculate stuff like this. And I think almost every build probably wants to GA their tempers. And like tempers are generally just stronger stats in almost every case than whatever else you can get. I think something like GA passes, for example, is no longer really a thing. You will almost always just choose to GA like the main stat, I think. Although, I mean, sometimes you have really big passives, right? Like this is like around 8%, for example. Which means in this case, we have 265, 249. Let's see it. Okay, it's a 4.6%. It's not necessarily much better than like a random 1 extra passive. But you also get the secondary effects of, for example, dodge. So you can kind of consider that as an extra value, or you can get some extra Paragon nodes. Because with less stats, like even with like a Shroud equip, for example, right? You're not gonna master out the all stats anymore. It's like Paragon board position matters again, most likely. I should try another build actually where we have a Shroud. I want to see what happens. Twitch needs real formatting. Can I take like a season 10 build that is not like completely different from season 11, like Pulf? Let's take Pulf. It's like more up to date. Although Greasy Rage is changing, whatever. So Pulverize. So let's set everything to 0. Shit. Fist of Fate and stuff. Okay. Maybe we do take the season 9 edition. Confirm delete. Season 10 is just too fucked up. Okay, over it. Alright, let's do this. Okay, there's one thing which we still get a GA on all stats, for example. And you can, like, you know, relatively realistically get like a GA either on live or all stats, and then make the second GA on the other one, right? And if you really want the resource gen. Okay, so let's have an example here. So how much all stats is this? 240. Is that enough? That is a lot of int, actually. This guy has a lot of int. Very smart druid here. So even without... Dude, how does this thing have so much all stats? Is there anything else? There's a Tybalt's Whale, which also has 65. Okay. What are some really big losers when it comes to masterworking? Like some really big losers. You can no longer hit 100% resource cost reduction with a LUM essence. Very important. Will I use this for a question? What is this? We'll just use that for my question of doesn't only one apply. What do you mean exactly? It's a chance for one of those things. It says it has a chance. So my understanding is that one of these will always happen. Because you basically have like a non-effect, which is item is indestructible, right? I mean, this is effectively the same as nothing happens anyway. So either nothing happens or this happens or one of the other things. So I would expect one, like, you get guaranteed one of these things. You're trying to apply GG logic. Yeah, it could also be that there's just like a 50% chance that nothing happens or something. But indestructible is effectively nothing, so. This reminds me like Valorb. Yeah, this is literally Valorb. This entire system is literally Valorbs. And I love it. I've been waiting for this for 2 years. So I'm very happy to see this. Yeah, I hear like a lot of people say, like there's also a lot of like feedback from like people discussing it, like they don't want to break their items with sanctification and so on. But I mean, you're never gonna go in and just break your item because you only do this when you have the copy of it anyway, right? You're gonna wait for the copy and then you go in and YOLO. And you get like 20 copies of your item anyway, so why not, right? I love this. Like for a game like Diablo 4, this is a perfect system, I think. For a game like PoE, there are never copies of an item. You know, every item is different, besides a few of the uniques. But not many builds actually run over uniques. But in D4, every item is a fucking copy of another item. Every unique is the same shit as another unique. Especially in the future of Masterworking 2.0, right? Like, uniques are literally all the same. We just full send the one copy. Yeah, I hear people say like, oh man, what if I break the cooldown on my Shaco and now I can't play my build anymore? Yeah, man, you're fucking stupid if you put your Shaco in there and you don't have a backup. That's just how it is, right? I mean, I can't help you. No one can help you then. If you full send your only Shaco. Yeah, I mean, what can I do? It feels good if it hits. Yeah, I can imagine. Exactly. I think it's going to be a very normal part of the like whole like progression loop, basically. Like, you know, you level up, you start getting your stuff, then you start getting your first 750s, you start getting your first 800s, then you start getting copies of your 800s, and, you know, you start masterworking them, and then at some point you have everything done, and then you go to the next step, which is you start sanctifying. So once you have the backup materials to masterwork another item that you already have a copy of in your stash, then you go and YOLO sanctify it, and it doesn't hit, okay, you take the next thing, you temper it, you masterwork it, you YOLO again, and so on, right? And this just becomes the loop at some point. This is just the item deletion machine. Instead of going to the blacksmith and salvaging, you do this. And I love it. I think this is good. You always ensure you have something you can continue using even if your upgrade breaks. Yeah, exactly. And all of it sounds like it's going to be optional. I don't think that the sanctification affixes are necessarily like build enabling or something like that. I mean, it could be that they put some stuff like cooldown there or resource or so, and that is like just enough to hit, you know, the breakpoint to play Death Trap or something. But at least the one example that we saw for sanctification affix was literally just more damage. And I also expect that most of the important legendary powers are probably not there. I don't think it can just give you any legendary power. I mean, we'll see if you can literally roll anything. That would be relatively wild. You do your 5 levels runs, go back and try to develop the good ones. Yeah, kind of like that. I mean, you still have to remember that you first have to do the masterwork. You cannot just sanctify. And I also expect it will maybe not be that easy to just farm infinite amount of sanctifies. So maybe you have to be a bit selective about it. But I imagine it's probably like balanced in a way where you get enough of the sanctify stuff, so that kind of keeps pace with the items that you get, right? And I mean, I can open my stash literally right now from just like the last 2 days of grinding 5 hours an evening. I have like, you know, 10 different gloves, all the same stats. I have 10 different pants with all the same stats, and so on, right? And what are gonna do with them? They're just gonna rot there and eventually gonna get salvaged. There must be a reason for chasing the upgrades in the first place. Yeah, I mean, we do have the tower, which will give some people a reason at least. That will be relatively exciting. And I guess one good part of the system is, obviously, like, you know, traders and RMT and so on is still going to be more beneficial, but there's also like a high likelihood that you break so many items in the sanctification process, you just need to cycle through so many items to even get the GG upgrades at some point, that it might be actually not viable to only use like the GG, 3GA items, 4GA items for this purpose, right? Because even if you have your 4GA amulet with 3 different passives and main stat or something like that, if you don't get your GG, like, you know, I don't know, conceded extra legendary power for free, it's going to be worse than a 1GA, right? Rob thinks that tower needs some kind of reward for people to play it. Blasters will play tower no matter what. And I mean, I somewhat agree with that, which is that, you know, not everyone cares about big leaderboard ranks. Many people don't. And they should get some sort of reward for doing the tower. And I mean, we've seen this in many other games, so right? There's like some sort of like scaling difficulty system, and you go higher and higher, and then at certain ranks, you know, every 5 ranks, you get like a special reward or something. I mean, something like that is cool, and should certainly be added for everyone to enjoy something. And they have said there's actually going to be some rewards anyway. You haven't been a group player, but you think you can push higher in D4 if you play with 4 players? Not sure about 4, but 2 or 3 players has certainly pushed higher than solo in the past. It depends on the season and on the top meta builds. But yeah, for example, in Season 8, the highest clear in the pit was actually a 3-man team. So, yeah, that happens. You refer to D3, GR giving rewards, but you don't push in D3, you get rewards. Yeah, exactly. There's also not really rewards in D3. I mean, there's like, I guess, gem levels, which is like kind of close to glyph levels. And it's kind of interesting how in D3 it's like very well accepted that you just don't max out your legendary gems. And in D4, it seems like people are so hyper-focused on leveling their glyphs to 100 for some reason. And when, you know, certain builds can't do 100 easily, then people don't consider them good builds or something. It's kind of weird. Yo, one more time. Another Daft Punk enjoyer. Thank you. You're not sure about extra legendary affix? That just sounds like a ton of power. That will be part of the base game system versus something just seasonal. Sanctification is seasonal, actually. This is a season thing. The point of tower is to get the boss with the lowest amount of tier. I'm not sure what you mean, Patronus. Yeah, I really wonder, like, if they put like every legendary power in there, because then you could actually consider to make some builds that are otherwise impossible, right? You can now like think about, you know, okay, you have like a Unix in every slot, but you can still, I don't know, do stuff like a Rabid Bear aspect or whatever, just as an example, right? And then, you know, make your entire setup around that, but you have to hit this aspect on at least one of your slots or something like this. So that's gonna be kind of interesting. I wonder if there's gonna be like actual build defining stuff in there. The leaderboard showed tier 45. It was higher ranked than those that did 46. And that might be just some weird example. Let me check that. Do we have the leaderboard here? Where's the leaderboard thing? True. There's tier 46 and here's tier 45. That seems weird. And also, this is slower than this. I kind of feel like they somehow reversed this or something. Yeah, I think this is like upside down or something like that. In development content, guys, okay? I'm sure that we'll be able to flip the leaderboard to actually show the fastest and highest on top. I think we might have the technology for that. I also didn't notice it, actually. That's funny. How high of a tier I did guess on my testing? I cannot say that. This might be artificial. It might actually just be like random data actually that they entered. Could also be that. I mean, 126. That is very fast. Alright. So maybe it's just like some random numbers. They're also all at the same time here. I think it's just probably like copy pasted like some data that they put there. Where's my NDA up? Well, I mean, like 2/3 of the stuff they have not announced or something like that. So I can't really say much. Who was first during the visit? It was kind of close between Mippy and me. It seems like the stat requirements will still be relatively easy to hit. And look at this here. I wanted to check out the Paragon boards notes a little bit. And I'm wondering, can we still hit it? Like here it's kind of close. 2.5k is like the highest for main stat on board 5. Like the main stat is always like 500 per board or so. Is it like any of them here? Yeah, there's like 2k. This is 2.5. Okay. I think most builds will probably still hit like 2k plus main stat, right? There's no other like big multiplier. Actually, there is 22 willpower. What about some other builds? And you don't necessarily run Shroud, but I think most builds will still run Shroud. It's still gonna be good. But Shroud is like a relatively overstudded item. So I think it could be that at least there's a slightly higher reason, or there is a slightly smaller gap between Shroud and other items now, because it can't just like giga scale the stats up now. Hey guys. You're hoping Sanctification was permanent, it's cool. Yeah, I also like the idea a lot. Elon has his credit card ready to top the leaderboards. Login. Is it worth looking into them describing that base progress from killing mobs in tower is equivalent to the base XP from the mob? I mean, at some point I actually had like a list a long time ago. I made like a list of many different monster types at least, and how much XP they give exactly. And yeah, it sounds like this is just 1-to-1 or so, right? I'm not sure if it's going to be 1-to-1, but at the very least relatable, I guess. Have we asked Adam what we can discuss now? Yeah, not much. Basically, we are allowed to say we've done this or that, and we talked about this or that, but not really like what exactly. So yeah, I've played the tower. I can say that. I've also seen some of the like new elite affixes in action and so on. And it definitely does feel very different. I can tell that. How do you like the tower on 1 to 10? It was relatively basic, I'd say. And the fact that they are committed to developing it over multiple seasons gives me confidence that it's going to be good at the end. I think for the start, it's going to be not enough, but it will get better. So I don't know if I can give it like a number right now. Did I enjoy playing the tower? I enjoyed it, but I did it very little. We weren't sitting there like, all day long just doing tower or something like that. We did a lot of stuff. So this was like just one small segment of the entire thing where we did tower. Which was fun for that time at very least. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like on a D3 GR level yet. But apparently they've also done a lot of work since we were there. So what we're gonna see on Tuesday is gonna be probably quite different from what we actually tried like 2 months ago. We'll see. Question is how long till it's good? Yeah, it sounds like, they are probably gonna do a lot of changes and pretty wild changes over the next season, so. I hope there isn't too many complaints that it's slower. The game is too fast. Yeah, I think that once, like, right now you look at a patch notes and you think, oh my god, man, Sorc enchantment, oof, and all that, right? But I mean, once people actually realize, like, how big is the impact of just everything being harder and slower, and how much more enjoyable combat can be when we actually go back to fighting enemies instead of, exploding entire screens. I think the complaints will probably not be as bad. You also read, thanks man. Appreciate it. 57 months. We've all been EP monks for 2 years. They removed most of the RR fixes in the game. I wonder how hard game will be in late game. I mean, it did say they actually lowered monster power, right? As a result of these changes. Because, I mean, first of all, we are losing a lot of damage, and we're losing a lot of defense. And okay, now it comes down to like, balancing out the classes a little bit with, the different resistance and armor values and whatever to make sure that it makes sense, right? The Barbs need to be sturdier than the Sorcs and so on, right? It's just how it is. Barbs are in melee. They're just like taking hits. Sorcs have a lot of tools and stay ranged most of the time. What is the reward from capstones? You get skill and Paragon points. Why didn't it change the crazy rage to where cooldown starts while it's active, just immediately reverted back to cooldown not starting until it ends? Yeah, it's kind of weird how they did like a back and forth there, right? I think like the season 9 was just an accident. Season 10 was intentional. And season 11 they realized maybe Grizzly Rage should not be about just permanent uptime. And I honestly like that idea. I may have suggested something like that at some point. So we'll see how it goes. Since I've experienced the Vision 44, do you see it becoming similar to PoE2? I mean, PoE2 is still a very different game. But I mean... Right, we have Sanctification. That is like one-to-one PoE. And honestly, nothing wrong with that. If there's something good out there, deforify it. I don't mind. What's the problem with Perma Bear or Wolf form? I don't think there's a problem with Perma Bear or Wolf form, but I think an ability called Grizzly Rage, which is like a big ass like damage cooldown, should kind of be a big ass damage cooldown and not press it once and forget about it for the rest of the run. But if you actually forget about it and you somehow run out of it, you just instantly die. and also deal no damage whatsoever when it's down. I mean, that's just kind of like weird, right? Like, you're still gonna be a permanent bear anyway. It's not like you press Gizzy Rage and then you transform into a bear and now you do bear stuff. No, you're always a bear, but sometimes you have extra damage when you press Gizzy Rage. And I like that idea a lot more than, you know, you just perma Gizzy Rage, where it's just, this is just your build now. Melted Heart is gonna be new mana shield. Melted Heart is gonna be big, I think, for some builds. I mean, you still lose your amulet, but it's still gonna be big, I think. I won't buy Druid MTX until they give us multiple body types. Maybe the Slim Druid is the MTX. Who would buy it? Necro Druid. Yeah, I need a little bit of both. Actually, I have an idea. Let's see this one more time. And we go again. And I'm gonna make a copy of the setup. And then we're gonna compare, you know, old Masterworks with new Masterworks. I think that is gonna be a bit more interesting idea. Ah, fuck, where is it? Season 9, Pulverize. So delete this, and make a copy. So, for example, Pulverize ranks 12. 23. Attack speed 100%. 76. And that's with 20 flat from swooping attacks. Without that, it would be 56 versus 80. How's life? 17. Shit. 19.7. Didn't change that much, but still it goes down by like 12, 13% or something. What else? Main stat, 2.7. 3.6. 1000 less willpower. So you lost 11 skill ranks, 1000 willpower, 15% alive, 20% attack speed, 25. What else? 3 envenom ranks, 1 quick shift rank, wound chance, crit chance. How's a crit chance? 99%, 71%. Okay, what else? Grizzly, restoration, polarized size. I mean, I can't even put the second tempered anymore, right? So we're gonna have like some other random stat, I guess. So there's like something to consider. We are now also getting rid of all of these things here. So realistically, we put something like overpower damage or something. Okay, movement speed, we should check that out actually. Now I can't really add the 4th stat yet, right? I can't do that. I guess I could do it like this, where you edit stat priorities. I'm just gonna add like another thing. but I don't think it will count. Yeah, it won't be calculated. But yeah, we're gonna get like a few extra stats. Earth crit chance, crazy rage cooldown. And okay, realistically, this probably won't be a crazy rage build anymore. We're probably gonna change this to like, whatever, like Rabbit Bear. Like if you can't keep this up permanently, I don't think you would do this. I'm not gonna change the build now to what I think it will be exactly. I just like kind of get an idea. But yeah, all of these go. I think it's just gonna be like a movement tempo actually. If anything, you need movement speed. Because how the hell are you gonna get movement speed, right? 180. Helm, boots, amulet, heightened senses. So something like that. How's armor? Okay, I mean, okay. I have no idea how much armor and Exile needs, but let's just say we're gonna try to hit the same values, right? Let's just say we go for 1000 armor, just like before, and we go for capped rest, just like before. So first of all, we need an extra armor roll, because this apparently is not enough with incense, because they lost their masterwork here. So for example, we would have to put an extra armor roll. Or maybe like a GA might do it. Close enough, I guess. Okay, now the thing is, we're gonna get to add another GA on every item, right? Because it will drop with 1, and we will make 1. So let's just do that a little bit. So we could do something like movement as well, I guess. In that case, we don't have to put us here. Nice amulet. And venom, willpower, quick shift, movement. Okay, earth crits. I mean, sure. What's our crit here? 71. You have to do earth crit everywhere, probably. So this will be something like that. We can do a second one here. Let's say crit. How's Pulf? It's only 1 rank, you know? You put a GA on it, it's only 1 rank. In most cases, you get 1 rank out of passive or 1 rank of a skill, which is just not enough. 12 ranks is this. It's only a 5% upgrade over having 1 less rank, for example. It's not that crazy. Like if you look at this, for example, you would definitely go for your attack speed. Potentially even the crit. I mean, probably both like this, right? Because you're gonna get 2. You'll probably do something like this. You do something like this. We do something like this. Okay, close enough, let's say, with the armor, right? Safe. So let's see what happened. 2.8 willpower. Okay, that's like minus a quarter. Well, skill damage is 458. 350. Let's make an example. I'm gonna write this down actually. Season 9 versus Season 11 examples. Pulverize. So will how much is this? I'm 0.8. Okay, skill ranks. 23. Now became close nothing. 23 is 320. Oof. Okay, what else? Attack speed. Yo, Miku. Hello. Thanks, man. Guys, follow Miku. Especially if you're a Barb and or Whirlwind enjoyer. Yo, how was your stream? One of our Maxroll guys. One of our latest additions. Rip Supermost the second. If, dude, I need to finish my Spiritborn at some point. Don't have much time left. No more 100% attack speed, no more 100% crit. I mean, it might still be doable for some builds. But let's see. Plus 76%. So it would be 176 over 200. I mean, it's obviously slightly rounded and whatever, right? So, movement, I guess we managed to save it. But, yeah, 200, 200. So that's the same. Thanks to the extra GA and stuff. What else? We have crit. 81. And here we have 99. We don't have any earth crit, right? Actually, there is one earth crit roll because it's just like a backup. Okay. Crit. 100. 87%. So if you assume that non-crits are effectively irrelevant. Well. Okay, let's say times 0.9. We need some weekly special bosses, real raids, unique chase items that can only be crafted by combining other gear. Something to keep endgame fresh. I like the idea. I just realized the new unique maze for Sorc that gives you all defensive enchantments is gonna force you to have the terrible teleport evade now. Yeah, but it also gives you 3 other really nice enchantments, right? Actually, what do they do again now? Enchantment. Ice armor. Healing potions apply ice armor and have 25% chance to refund themselves. Okay, 10% chance to unleash a frost nova after hitting an enemy. I mean, 10% lucky hit chance is easy enough to trigger this effectively all the time in a pack. Depends on the build a bit. But you're gonna have a lot of frost novas. Teleport, I mean, it's still that, but also it's a 5-second cooldown. And you cannot evade. So that can actually be a downside in boss fights especially. And then you have Flame Shield enchant, which is unchanged, I guess. Okay, so Flame Shield enchant is just like when you take enough life damage, it activates automatically. Okay. What happens if you have a 4GA unique? Is capstoning worthless? It sounds like it. But I mean, who in this chat ever equipped a 4GA unique? That was not Mother's Embrace. Maybe number of GA would be limited. I don't see a reason to limit it. You know, it's good that basically perfect items are unachievable. That's important, I think. Never, yeah, exactly. I think this whole, 4GA uniques cannot be masterwork to another GA. I think that is such a non-issue, honestly. So, who cares, you know? I mean, just be happy that you don't have to do the last thing, I guess, and that's it. You know, the towers that the pylons are encapsulated and not treated as buildings, otherwise Shock Impact will not be able to free the pylons. Yeah. We found at least 10 4GA uniques this season. Most useful one was Tybalt's. Yeah, but I mean, it's still so rare that I would say, okay, sure, it happens you find a 4GA unique and you can't get another GA on it. But yeah, I think this is not an issue. It's just what it is. OJA Shaco. I mean, if you get a 4J Shaco, GG, right? I mean, the most GAs I ever had on an equipped mythic was 2, I think. And, you know, at this point, I'm at like, who knows, 200 mythics or so over the seasons. Yeah. I'm not sure if I ever equipped a 3 GA mythic even. You get a super GA. Now it's doubled. Ancient. All of this is just busy work until you can play the tower. Nah, I think, you know, the game is changing in a big way, and I'm trying to understand what is changing. This is why we're doing this exercise right now, right? I want to learn, okay, what actually happens next season with just like a few build examples. That is what we're trying to do right now. Like, how are we making our builds now, right? What can we expect? How much power do we lose? Like, look at these modifiers already, right? This is literally just what we lose from tempering and masterworking. It's not even like really that accurate still. And there might be some other stuff that I'm not really thinking about. For example, what about the additive values? Like, I completely ignored Grizzly Rage cooldown and Grizzly Rage duration, which I actually had here, which turned out, for example, in Season 10 to be completely useless, right? So there's kind of a bit of a yikes here for this build to try this exercise. Because both of these were all, they were all like optional, right? But okay, it's just in a build example. We can try another one. Is there like other stuff? Like what about the additive damage? Does that change in some way? Poison damage. It barely shifts, I guess. So the poison damage goes down a little bit, but whatever. There's not really any additive values. We have Earthquake actually twice. So that is gonna be +6, 88, 94. Let's say this. And then, you know, technically there's resource cost reduction, but I mean, in this case, you actually want to avoid resource cost reduction, I think, so that's probably fine. But yeah, let's do it. 0.8, 0.65, 0.88, 95. We lost over half of our power. Even if we add back, I don't know, the random willpower roll, like, you know, we are missing like one affix here. This could be like a life roll. I forgot about the life actually. Life. I guess that would probably be kind of similar. 19.7, 19.9. Okay, so it's actually kind of similar because we added the GA here again and stuff. So life is kind of similar. You probably add like a random life roll or a random rest roll here. And kind of similar here, I guess. You just throw in a crit or something. It actually went up, it's kind of interesting. 90.7k, 20k. One, two, three, four. Total. Missing legendary affixes. Let's just do this. 4. Just to get an idea, like, you know, how many legendaries are there that we now would have to add an extra roll for, right? So here would probably be a crit roll that would probably solve this. Then here would be a life roll, which will make this even tankier. Here would be a willpower roll, so this gap will be slightly smaller. And here could be another passive, but copium or something like that. But let's say that this gap was a bit smaller and the crit was not a thing, right? So let's say this is 0.85 for the willpower. And then we still do this ranks, and we still do the attack speed. Yeah, I mean, still half. Tell them to nuke skill ranks from orbit. I mean, it looks relatively nuked, right? Not entirely, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with having some skill ranks, I think. Skill ranks is a relatively interesting avenue of progression. And interesting considerations of, you know, especially for like the cooldown values that you get on some utility skills and so on. And not just number go up. Yeah, +2 or +3, I mean, that's exactly what you have, right? Look at this Stardust. The Stardust is literally +2. Mythic item, by the way. Here's our perdition, +2. Yeah, sure, I mean, you can take out the movement and put it here, right? For pushing, this will be preferable. But for everything else, you want this. Let's do another build as an exercise. Let's take, I don't know, some rogue build or something. What do we have? Season 9. Do I have anything? Heartseeker featuring Dark Side. Let's try this. Yeah, this still looks relatively up to date, I guess. So let's just do this. I'm sorry, okay. Oh, I think I was hiding the cam a little bit, right, earlier. Here. I just realized that my cam is like in front of this. So I need to like move this up a little bit. In case you didn't see the numbers, sorry about that. I forgot I was on the right now. Okay, so this is like all at 0. Now we're gonna add like a second GA. So how's it looking here? 83 crit is probably fine. We get like trick attacks counting dark. Okay, Dark Shot is included. Did I go for 100%? Yes. I guess we have dash. We could go for only 90 and use dash, which is like okay most of the time. Or is it okay? 10 seconds charge cooldown. I think like one crit roll would be fine. First of all, this GA is 2. Holy. Then we get something like this. Here, same story as before. I guess we can do the crit and get to 90. We don't want core or movement really that much anyway. Okay, what else? Heartseeker or Dex. I wonder what would be better. 290, 281. That's like 2.5 or 3% right now. So Heartseeker would probably win. How many ranks is this right now? 17 is probably better. Or probably I could put a life roll or the rest roll. Or even, we have to consider, we also have to add like healing per second or life per hit or something like that right now as well, right? We want some healing. So that's kind of, like, we can't just expect we're gonna fill all these legendary slots with, you know, more dexterity or something. So, crit chance against shield enemies, I suppose. Res. I mean, the res might actually be something useful now, right? Or even the chill slow potency. Whatever, let's just do this. Yeah, now, so that's actually an interesting one. Here we'll do Heartseeker, but that does cast twice. You're definitely gonna go for a weapon temper. You can actually almost hit 100% with just that. And then you can still do the Shadow Clown a little bit. Damage per Shark Shot is gone. So here, this would be like a GA temper. Can't really do this yet. I guess innovation is required, so we have to do this. And we probably have to put innovation here too. Do we? We're probably fine with that. Worst case, you can put some points actually. This actually has 0 points, so it's probably fine. Shadow Clown cooldown is probably more important. The cooldown is 32 seconds, by the way. I think we actually have to put that. How about we go double cooldown? What's the cooldown here? 26? 25 with double roll, so I think yes. I mean, we could definitely make this a GA temper. Might be fine. Also, this doesn't even exist anymore. I mean, it does, but yeah, I guess we still put it. Features and chance to restore 10. Yeah, we definitely have to go for innovation here, I think. So we have to like change this slightly. Can we? We surely don't need 36% damage reduction against dots, right? It might actually be worth to take this out instead. I also wanted to get the crit there. I think Ballestra is optional. Although 4 seconds. It's relatively easy damage upgrade. It's hard to drop something. Can I drop this? Can I drop this? You cannot really drop innovation. Can't drop this. So the only thing we can really drop is alchemical. Okay. Well, I guess goodbye DR. 1 rank in Dark Shroud. 1 rank in Rugged. Great. So here this would be another GA temper. Dude, we lose another Dark Shroud Shadow temper. Wait, do we even have any? Wait a minute. No. 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 Fucking yikes. Guys. Wait a minute. We have no damage. Like this is gonna be insane. Oof. Then removing the R off on champions and mouse is gonna be one of the greatest things. It's so miserable. Yeah. It's also like lagging the game out and shit. Where's the Chaos Armor? I intentionally chose a Season 9 planner to do this because there's no Chaos Armors anymore. What's the biggest difference between Stinger and Rake Dodge? One is green, one is red, and a bit of power. How were the patch notes? I like them, generally. In the interview that showed a character at the bottom, every item had a blue icon. Anyone knows what that means? I think this might be like the Masterwork capstone thing or something. I guess it has some, you know, like, okay, this item is like check marked, okay, done, or something. Or maybe the Sanctification. They're just doing the PTR hella early for more time to make changes. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's like a pretty big PTR, right? And they will definitely have to make some changes, I think. So it's good that they're gonna do it early, so I have more time. Want to replace the NK Masterwork chase with this new system? The Sanctification. Hi, Lobby. Would I care to go over changes I was hoping to see out of Orphan Maker while I make this build? I would love to see a reload mechanic that resembles the PoE 2 reload mechanic better. So I think it needs some visual and audio feedback. And basically, the whole flow is better in PoE 2. It just feels better to play with the crossbows. I think they were trying to do something like that, and they kind of failed. And one suggestion I gave was maybe doing something like a hidden plus 500% attack speed buff that you only have while your skill is ready, so that it kind of like releases instantly, similar to like how PoE2, like you just shoot instantly, right? It's like a shooter. You know, you press the button and boom. And like we don't have that exactly here, because you still do the full animation, and then, you know, you have to wait until the character's ready and so on, right? And that alone also like helps with making it feel worse. So it would be nice if they look find some clever ways around this, maybe. I realize we have actually Season 9 gems here. I need to remove those. So let's just put like skulls and stuff. Grand, skull, all my armor. Okay, skull and 2 diamonds, I guess. So I'm not gonna like try hard too much now to like fix armor and rest. Just like try to get it somewhat right. I guess another skull here. Okay, and probably same here. Skull, diamond, skull. I mean, kinda doesn't matter probably, but let's check what happened with that rogue build though. So, Heartseeker. Alright. Dexterity went from 3.6k to 2.5. That is 381. 43. So X 7.5. That's even worse than on the Druid. Okay, ranks. Let's see it. 25. 17. Okay, not too bad. So that is 60. Okay. Great. Alright, what else? Crit. Crit is fine, I guess. Attack speed. 129. 143. Is everything here? 106, 43. 86. I mean, there could be an attack speed roll, for example. But let's just do it anyway. Movement, I guess, should be fine. Cope. 200, I mean, it's a rogue, I guess, so that's okay. Crit. Okay, life. Oof. 14.4k. 10.7. Okay, damage some. 0.75, 0.76, 0.94. And that's it. Okay. Also, we lost half, roughly. And then missing affixes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I forgot additive. Wait a minute. That is actually kind of important. It was not imported on the Druid. Additive. 100%. 100%, let's just say. I'm not gonna like recalculate this, but here it actually matters a lot. So how much additive did we lose? Okay, let's see what we got. So we have 540. Okay, let's just like napkin math this. Okay, 540, 550. 900. 1150. 1200. 1600. Let's say only elites matters. Let's say half of this, like 1750. Let's say 1800. 1800, and then we have shrouds. Let's say we always have 5. This is like 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops. Something like another 1100. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So additive is like, let's say 3000. 2900. Let's say 2900. And it becomes, oh boy. 500. 750. 1150. 1200. Oh boy. Did I forget all damage? Let me just see this again. 500. 850. 1100. 1200. I forgot the imbue earlier. 1600. 1650. Okay, so something like that. So we have to actually recalculate this again. 0.5434 times 1650 divided by 3000. Here we go. So that is the new damage output. We lost 70%. Now, of course, you can min-max that up a little bit again. You would probably try to, like, get a Dark Shroud temper in there again or something like that. Maybe move some items around. We also have this. But I think it's safe to say that we lost at least half the damage just from those changes. Even here, it's actually safe to say we lost half. We lost more than half here, like 2/3-ish. Even if we get a bit of stuff back. How much did the 4th round legendary items make up for that? Yeah, not much, because most builds don't actually run a lot of legendaries, right? I mean, legendaries lost value in this patch, I think. Because you lost your second temper and replaced it with a normal stat, and that will almost always be a downgrade, I think. And also, there's only 4 legendaries in the setup, right? So let's assume we run the same setup. Maybe you're gonna move something around, maybe it's gonna be 5, maybe it's gonna be 3, who knows. But let's just say the same setup, right? I didn't really like look in that deep now. But if we assume the same setup, we gain 4 affixes. Okay, if one of them will maybe make up for a little bit of the attack speed loss, maybe you're gonna put an attack speed roll on a ring, and then okay, that is lost, that is gone here, right? So we're gonna go back to what it was. We managed to cap the crit again. Maybe we get a bit more additive on the weapon, but that might just as well be like a life per hit roll. This might be a like a hit restore resource roll that we now need because we lost the innovation temper, right? We have to make up for that somehow. So realistically, those 4 affixes, yeah, maybe an extra dex roll or something, but it's not gonna turn it around, Any chance I extend PTR? They said that no, that's not happening. Here's how to master a tower, earn progress by killing monsters and collecting orbs. The more experience monsters provide upon death, the more score they provide. Log the F out. Wait, what's the problem, Bonkers? You don't want to collect orbs? I find it relatively satisfying to collect progression orbs in D3. It's like the reward for killing the pack, where otherwise you don't even get loot or something. So at least you get that. I don't know, I don't think it breaks the flow at all. Maybe I'm just like so used to it that I don't really mind. But I don't have an issue with it. I actually forgot earlier to wait a minute. We fucked the passive ranks here, right? And Venom 6 to 3. 170. So let's add that here as well. Oops. Okay, how about here? 2 to 2. Wait, is this also 2? 2 to quick shift. 3 to quick shift. 42. 36. Alright, so the Druid actually lost more than I thought because I've got the passive ranks earlier. Okay, similar here, I guess. So what do we have? Malice, Frigid. It's 3 and 3. It's not that much, I guess, but... let's say 5% each or something. Sounds about right. Oof. The Shard, we now try to get free passes and main stats on amulets. Should we now try to get free passes and main stats on amulets? It depends, like, what they really do with the stats. It could very well be that they change some of these stats around and add more stuff or something. They haven't really specified that, and I guess there should be something in the patch notes, but they were kind of vague about, you know, what happened to life per hit and life per kill and so on. They just said they buffed them, and life per hit is like a new thing now. Yo, Limposis, thanks for the 28 months. Good luck finding free passes. Yeah, realistically, you're not gonna have free passes, and most of the time you're probably not gonna really need it, or not even necessarily want it. Like a crit roll or an attack speed roll is an okay roll to have on an amulet. Because if you already assume like the best 2 passives and your main stat, then you can only get the 3rd best passive, and the 3rd best passive is probably something like 3-4% per point or something in most cases. And you get 2 of that. So you get maybe a 6 to 8% upgrade from the 3rd passive. That's not necessarily even better than an attack speed roll. What is my general opinion? Is this good for the game? Yes, I think almost everything in this patch is wonderful. I want to do another example for another class. Let's see what else we have here. Save this. Let's do a third one. How about some Spiritborn or something? Quill Volley. Let's take Quill Volley. Oops. That was one too much. I mean, basically, we're probably gonna run like Esha Kazungi and the monkey and stuff like that. But let's just take this here, I guess. Also, who the hell knows how annealing hits will work now? There was actually no note about annealing hits, right? Like, you changed the entire armor system. What happened with annealing hits? They just did this. Monka. I wonder if like annealing hits is just like perma maxed out now or something. $5,000 armor. 2,800. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Wait, how's the res? Barely capped, okay. Let's do skull. I should do this before I copy the set. Next time. No, this is fine. Okay, Quill Volley. Let's go. Dex. How much is that? Actually, not a big loss of Dex, because we don't have much of it. I think life might be a bigger problem here. 203. Okay. Like this. Ranks. 12. 24. Literally halved. Oh boy. Right. It is. Okay. So the ranks is already a massive loss. Holy shit. Attack speed. 91. 2 ferocity ranks. Now we have more ferocity. Okay, so 131, 150. Movement. $148, 175. Oof. Wait, I forgot to add the to change the tempers actually. Wait a minute. Oh boy. So this would probably be like vortex here. This will be movement. Did I add the other GAs on the rogue earlier? Just want to make sure that I didn't miss something there on the rogue. Yeah, temper. They always will be like temper GAs, pretty much. There's actually like a few little things that I forgot. No, actually I did not. We have this, we have this, we have this, we have this. Okay, it's fine. So like I didn't calculate like a hit, but it will probably be something like this. This will be the temper, this will be the temper, this will be the temper. And here, I guess we've got this part of the basic attack speed. So you could do this. So that would be almost exactly the same number. Okay, it's fine. Let's do the tempers here though. So we have vortex, no eagle damage. Yikes. Movement. Max resource, I guess. That is interesting. Resource cost reduction, resilient. Dude, this guy's gonna have no life. I guess we just do Dex. Potion is nerfed anyway. Good question. Eagle or resource? I guess resource would win. Resource here, resource there. Core. This lucky hit restore resource doesn't even exist anymore, I guess. So yeah, we wouldn't do that. So let's just like not calculate this. I think it's fine. Do the all stats. I mean, the R doesn't exist anymore either. So it'll probably be like a movement angle, for example, now. And maybe like this or something. I think this has become Dex now. So maybe we'll do the Dex, but let's just do the all stats instead. Okay, let's see a few tweaks here. Main stat actually went up. Holy. I guess with the all stat, with the Dex change here, will probably still be a downgrade or something. So it will probably be something like this. It's like almost the same number. Let's just say something like that. Okay, ranks 13, 24. That is the same. Okay, movement now. 165. 175. Crit. Yep, Capelacca. Additive. Did you get it right? The leaderboard only for the tower? Yes. Seems like legendaries will be more important in Season 11 than uniques. It kind of goes the other way. Legendaries become more worthless. Number one, you have more legendary affixes from Sanctification. And number two, you can only add the default best stat to your legendaries, where previously you had a Tempera, which is almost guaranteed but way better than that. Like, legendary stonks are going down, not up, I think. Alright, this is the old one. Let's calculate. 900... 1k, 1.5, 1.65, 7, 1.9, 1.9 and some eagle, 2, 3, 3. 2.1 actually. And now the new value is probably not very different actually. 850, 9, 1k, 1.5, 1.65. It's almost the same. Okay, then we have passives. I mean, it's kind of whatever. Let's just say 5%. And we have life. 7.5, 8.1. Does this include resilient? That is important. Is resilient even calculating at all in this planner right now? It does actually. Did I miss it? It seems like it does. Resilient 13.5, we have 1. There will probably be 2 if you have Gorilla, but let's just go with it. 8.1 to 7.5. What's that? Realistically, the gap would be larger, I think. We're actually missing unyielding. If you just assume the same armor values and stuff, which is probably untrue, but let's just do it. That? What else? Resource cost reduction. 10 and 10. Right. So 0.855 to the power of 2. Becomes 0.91. Now we have to calculate that shit. Our max resource, is that changed? 276. 265. Oof. Just say Kapeleke. Kapeleke, actually. Oops. Okay, not too much changes actually because our resource went up, but our resource selection went down. So the total result is something like that. We lost 5% from Kapeleke. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Anything else? I mean, that annealing might be a bit pessimistic. We might just have max annealing. But okay. So what's the end result? So this is Kapeleke calc. With Kapeleke calc. So it's just, you know, if we assume that our armor is not going to be fixed for Kapeleke, sorry, for annealing actually. This is annealing. Yeah, if annealing also goes down, then it's definitely a bigger loss. Interesting how this is like a much smaller loss than here, for example, right? On the rogue we lost so much, but I guess the big thing was we just lost half the damage from additive, for example. And here our additive barely changed. So this is, I think, the main reason why this is so much closer compared to here. And on a Druid, additive is also unchanged, but we lost a lot. I guess envenom ranks are huge, for example. Skill ranks are huge. Although skill ranks, 2/3, 3/4, 2/3. So that's kind of a pattern. Main stat affects this one a lot. 20%, 25%, barely anything here. Because they already had so little. You cannot really go down much here, I guess. Attack speed wasn't a big deal. This wasn't a big deal, because basically all of the additive on the Spiritborn comes from the glyphs and from the Paragons. Where on the Rogue, all of the additive comes from damage per dark shroud temper, or half of it, I guess, and we had none of it. It really comes down to class by class, I guess. But I guess, you know, we can definitely say, okay, it's like minus 2/3, minus half, roughly. I wonder if I can beat Elon Musk in a straight duel in D4. No, I cannot. You don't care if there's a compromise to make SSF light where you can't group, but they can group but can't trade. I think grouping is way better than trading, to be honest, in terms of your progression. Grouping is the big deal. The trading is kind of the small deal. I think it's easy to get items. Trading is a big deal because RNT, true. But grouping up is even better. I forgot to add missing affixes. One, two, three, four, five. Okay, so this guy has 5 legendaries and he has 4. Interesting. I think we've seen enough here to kind of get a rough idea. Obviously, once we start cooking and min-maxing setups, I think the gaps will shrink a little bit. But I would be kind of surprised to see if builds actually end up doing a lot more than half the damage than before. Not counting season theme, chaos items, whatever, right? I'm talking about like eternal kind of setups. You can already see RNT carry services. I still prefer full SSF. Yeah, I mean, you need real SSF for leaderboards. Like, I think we're gonna see this in season 11 so hard. Like, it's gonna be such a shit show on the leaderboards. Like, on softcore, for sure, it's gonna be a fucking shit show. Okay, let's assume no duping and no game-breaking bugs popping up, right? All you're gonna have is like, you know, Korean gear, full like 3-4 GA on day 2 at the top of the leaderboard. I think the skill element of the tower, at the least at the start, will probably not be enough to, you know, really distinguish players from one another compared to the gear. Not a chance I lie. I don't know, it's just like what I expect to happen. So you're gonna see Korean gear at the top of the leaderboard, day 2, and that's gonna stay all season, basically. So that is my expectation. And then, you know, it gets wilder, right? Because then we have Sanctification, and then people start going real ham. And I think it's good that there is some sort of like, you know, gear progression and like a grind element part of this leaderboard. It makes sense. But I think that might be overvalued compared to the actual gameplay and the actual strategy. In D3, you have a very good mix of both, and I think in D4 we are probably not there yet. But I mean, I'm very excited to see how the monsters and stuff will feel. I think on hardcore, the leaderboards are going to be very fun. Especially because of the supposed danger. I think on softcore, it's going to be a shit show. Probably going to see URLs on the leaderboard. Oof. Yeah, that needs to be policed, I guess. Let's see. I should go through some more of the patch notes. Let's go through some of the class changes, guys. I want to see that a little bit more. Where does it start? Okay. You can be rank 1 too at rnttradehouse.com. Oof. Subscribe for the full wudijo experience, guys. This off currently 3 was a shit show too on leaderboards. Yeah, it was definitely kind of bad thanks to botting. And also, like, you know, all kinds of other tools. But the main thing was the botting. All the other tools were relatively small impact, I guess, compared to that. But I mean, in the end, like, the thing is that the power gaps in D3 were much smaller between players, right? Like a 2k Paragon guy versus a 5k Paragon guy, it is obviously a significant gap, but it's like a gap of 50% damage or something like that. But in D4, the gaps between players are way larger than that in terms of just raw output. Especially with Sanctification coming in. But even without Sanctification, okay, maybe we would see kind of similar gaps between, like, you know, let's say comparable to like D3, 2k versus 5k Paragon or something like that. But yeah, with Sanctification, it's gonna be wild, I think. But for example, let's say there's a guy who has 3 GAs on every piece of gear. So he starts with 2 GAs and makes a third with Masterwork. Versus a guy who starts with 1 GA and makes a second on every piece of gear. I guess we need Macro to calculate it. But my gut feeling would be this would be kind of comparable to like the 5k versus 2k example that I just brought. But then you can also have the Sanctifier stuff, right? And if you suddenly get like a 10% multi, even just a 10% multi there, on like, you know, 10 different items, that adds up to a lot really fast. That's like easy double damage, easy triple damage. And if they put stuff like, I don't know, Conceited Aspect, Edgemaster's Aspect, you know, 25%, 30%, like this stuff gets out of control really fast. Like a single one of those aspects is an entire pit tier. Like in D3, like this example of 2k versus 5k Paragon is maybe like a 2-3 GR gap between the players and just raw output. But we can easily reach that in D4 and more. So I think that we're gonna see a lot of people like insane gear more towards the top, and less of the like, you know, actual like insane blasters. Yeah, it makes sense that gear matters, but it might matter too much, at least for Sanctification season, right? But it also depends on what we can actually get from Sanctification and how reliably we can get it. So for example, if the guy that has only 1 GA items actually gets all the perfect Sanctification outcomes in every slot reliably, versus the guy with the Korean gear gets like the 2 GAs and all of the perfect outcomes, then the gap would be similar to this like D3 example again, right? Where like the Giga grinder would have some sort of advantage, but it's not like the end of the world. And then you would get into territory where a good player can beat a bad player. But yeah, I guess it's very hard to predict this right now, to be honest, because you have no idea about how important is the Sanctify, how likely is the Sanctify outcomes, how's the tower feeling, and so on, right? So this is like all just kind of like random speculation. And then a Puff Exile thing, what is that? People keep linking me stuff. Okay, that's like one change I really do not care about. But okay. Heist. I'm glad capstones are back. Yeah, I'm also excited for capstones, to be honest. Repair E1. Yeah, we're gonna log in. It's actually really good timing as well. Like, you know, we're gonna blast the PTR next week, and then the PTR ends. Right before PoE, actually, so it's perfect timing. The 326ers are moving to Heist. Interesting. So no more lab for that, you mean? Might be the only reason I mentioned it. Okay. Yeah, dude, I've never done a lot of heists. I've played it for like a little bit, and then I was like, okay, whatever. Ah, the Merc gems are going there, okay. Wait, are the Mercs no longer a thing or what? Neeks. So let's talk about those. Barb. This is Brawling Pants. Charge. Kick. Leap. Quick. Maybe. At least create 4 speeds. Okay. So I think the Barb Pants are a really good item. I'm really excited to see like if this like is very fluid and this is kind of like instantly refreshes when you press the button, especially when you have only one of them on the bar. That's gonna be good, I think. So we'll see. Well, one second, guys. Any liberators in chat? Don't even talk about Druid Unique, just put their trash. Yeah, Druid is actually trash. Druid. Like, I don't know what the fuck this even is. Storm, defense, speed. Storm, defense, speed boots. Doa. Okay. But this is actually pretty good, I think. Dude, Bad Omen. I actually had to look up what Bad Omen is. I did not know this passive. I had no idea what Bad Omen is. So it's a lucky hit to do a lightning strike when you hit him with a storm skill or something like that. That is what it does. It's gonna be amazing, guys. Just damage them 100 times with storm skills to gain a 1 second max movement speed and unhindered buff, guys. What do you think about that? Did it change it in the patch? They change it? I don't know if they're gonna change it. But I mean, this item is insanely bad. Okay, Rogue, actually. Dog Pants. Pretty good, I think. Yeah, so basically I have infinite charges. And pure Dance Knives might become a reality. I guess you have to ask Ava, because he's cooking Dance Knives anyway. He's gonna be checking that for sure. But it looks good enough. It has only good stats. No defenses though on the pants, which might be a bit yikes. But it's a lot of damage, lots of good stats. It solves movement. It has kind of everything you want. 15 dodge, I guess. 15 dodge is actually defensive. Like, if you assume that we're not just gonna get one-tapped very easily anymore, dodge chance actually suddenly gains a lot of value. I think you might actually be in a situation where dodge chance matters. I think damage will overall drop with tempering. Well, I did a bit of calculations, and my results are: we lose 2/3, we lose 3/4, we lose half. So somewhere in that range with those 3 examples. Thanks to like not just the tempering, but also like masterworking and so on. It's relatively impactful. Necro. Golem, Mace. No clue, honestly. I think it could be good enough. That's great. Unstoppable uptime, which is kind of like a big deal for Necros as well. Because every time you press Golem, you get unstoppable, and now it's 3 seconds instead of 1.5 seconds. So you just kind of like spam Golem, ding, 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 and somehow like trigger the cooldown reset. It might be kind of nice. Sorc. Sorc is a good item, actually. No defenses, mace. Big. I don't know what to say. It's a very big item, actually. So it's for core skills. 4 ranks to core skills. With G8, it's probably going to be 6, actually. I think 4 usually goes to 6. So that's all of ranks. Plus 160% damage gain. Now the question is, what would you actually put on the bar if you want to use this thing? So you have your core skill, of course. Monka, This might be something for Frozen Orb or so. You do like Frozen Orb, Fracture Meter Glass, Conjuration, 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 Conjuration. And one more skill. I guess, I don't know, Unstable, Inferno. It's kind of random to just like put the... Like Deep Freeze doesn't actually do anything, right? Does Deep Freeze actually do anything in 2025? I mean, I can almost believe that it does something, but I don't really believe it. 50% of your life as barrier. It makes enemies vulnerable for 5 seconds. Your frost skills deal 25% increased damage for 5 seconds. Insanity. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what a frozen orb will exactly look like. But this might be like one of those cases where you do that. I wish they made it so each minigolem was like a type, like one iron, blood, bone. I like that idea as well. That's cool. Yeah, I don't know. What other build would really profit from this? It's only for core skills, but I mean core skills is almost everything on this fucking tree, right? Everything is core. So would the bar significantly change if we not play Frozen Orb, but we play, I don't know, Ball Lightning? So Ball Lightning, Unstable. And it would still do Conjuration, 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 right? How did it change Primordial? Summon damage, so this is actually worthless now for a build that doesn't do summon damage. You don't get this or this anymore. Just have an empty slot. Omega roll. Now, at the very least, you're gonna put some random whatever is the same element of your main skill. Because of the, it's basically like the Necro problem, right? Necro have Reaper's Pursuit, and Necros have a bit smaller, but elemental synergies. So at the very least, you're gonna put some random, like, basic skill and whatnot to get this. But this is a very minor thing, and there's not even, like, ranks to it that you can get on any item or something. Because it's like a new passive. So... yeah. It's gonna be weird. And then there's also like the aspects for that, right? Defensive. 30% increased damage while you have no defensive skills on your action bar. Is that still the same thing? 10 US destruction? Gain increased armor and heal 5% life a second while you have no defensive skills on your bar. I mean, 5% life per second, multiplied with healing received, that's gonna easily hit like 100, easily hit like 10 or maybe 15% or something. That actually seems like a pretty good defensive aspect. Like, in a world where I imagine we don't get one tap so easily, but we need sustain, that seems like a very good aspect, actually. But yeah, we lost this part here, which is now basically a unique item. Is there like anything else like that? Tenuous agility. Gain 80% movement speed. This bonus is removed for 10 seconds after you cast any defensive skill. Pre-cast defensive skills are no longer removed. So this is a movement aspect. I just realized that this doesn't actually say the type, but I guess it's movement. Maybe GOWT. Time and place on D3 to prepare for PTR, login danger. How about teleport damage Sorc? Well, I see no hope for that, to be honest. Because one thing about teleport is they buffed the base damage, but they also pulled the like triple damage from the upgrade or something. So here, right, they have 90 instead of 35. It's like, I don't know, times 2.7 or something. And actually this was 500% increased. So it's actually less damage now. I don't know. I mean, people always meme about Oculus and whatever. I've never seen like a really good build of it. And now it actually does less damage than before. And they reduced how fast you can teleport. So I don't think so. What about Crackling Energy next season? I mean, it was very good in season 10. And if I had to guess, it loses less than other builds because it doesn't rely on skill ranks very much, does it? Or at least not as much as like the advanced techniques builds, I guess. You missed the days when Double Swing Barb was the best or second best build in the game. Oh man. Double Swing. That was a good time for sure. I mean, I'm not trying to exactly figure out which is the best build for every class or something like that. I just want to kind of get a rough idea of like where are we, right? Like what are the overarching changes that affect builds? Because you have like 100 builds, I can't go for everything in the next 2 days. Season 11 Frozen Orb. It definitely looks like Frozen Orb could be a thing. Maybe not the thing, but a thing. Double Swing Barb is still playable. Yeah, it's playable. But it just didn't really feel good in 2025. You know, if you just look at what other builds can do. I mean, look at Rake, Spiritborn, and Double Swing. You know, Rake, Spiritborn, Double Swing. You know? So, We got Rake at home, guys. Rake playstyle was so fun this season. Personally, I'm not really a big fan of the constant evading around in every build, to be honest. I found Payback very fun. Because it actually had like timing, positioning, it actually felt like I was playing the game. So when I was doing the testing, I actually really enjoyed that part. But all the other like evade builds, they all felt like exactly the same. You just evade around, press right click, hope for the best. And we had like 4 builds like that. So that was a bit yikes, but okay. You can maybe still do something like that with the new boots though. Is that Tenuous Destruction actually renamed? Change from offense? Not here. Tenuous Survival. Yeah, Spiritborn? I'm not really sure what to think about that. Going to try leveling on PTR? Yeah, certainly, but not necessarily at the start. Like leveling is something you can do later. We have like just in general like stuff to test, right? Like how do builds function? I think that's more important. Then we get a data mine for PTR. Should be an hour before. Sometimes it's the day before, so we'll see. Or evade boots. I don't know what to make of this item. So 4 meters, I think, is roughly an evade in this game. Let me check this. Drive is every 10 meters, and it takes 2 evades and a step or 2 to get this. Let me actually log in. I have the spec. Exclamation mark patch notes. Diablo Immortal. Okay. You only play double swing every season on your Barb. Dude, that's fucking based. It isn't what it used to be, yeah. I mean, in a world where we don't have skills that just like insta full clear wipe the entire screen all the time, something like double swing could thrive again, right? Where the game slows down a little bit, and now we have stuff like, you know, Groundstorm, pull them in, Seagrass, pull them in. We have stuff like the Saber of Tessagal to actually make these things possible. So I think there might be some potential for double swing to maybe not be the best build or something, but something, right? It also doesn't rely on overpower as much as some of the other core skills and so on, which got nerfed like some seasons ago. Will the game really slow down? Well, maybe not at the high end, but getting there will take way longer. Like, we are gonna be at least a magnitude weaker, even with maxed out characters, I think, is my guess. Okay, maybe not with like Giga Sanctified, like, you know, Edge Masters level aspects in 10 slots or something. At that point, we're gonna be probably like close to season 10 power levels. But let's just say we're not gonna get to that point, right? Like the season powers in season 10 were ridiculous. The Chaos Idols were ridiculous. The season perks were ridiculous. We don't even have season perks, basically, right? We don't even get any power at all besides the Sanctification, and that will take a while to even get anything out of it. Plus, they're nerfing all of the good stuff. Like Druid is going, like stonks are going down, right? Okay, Barb is going up a little bit. You know, Death Trap does not exist anymore, basically. Sorc nerfed. I mean, we're gonna be a lot weaker. And they're making enemies way harder. So, you know, survivability will matter more. You have to invest into that. This will also weaken our characters more, and so on. So I think it will be a much longer journey to get to the point where we actually blast through Torment 4. And then you have less cooldown to even go faster, and potentially less slots to include movement speed and whatever, right? Although it looks like the movement speed is not such a big deal if you kind of go for it, right? So if you look at our calculations here, my pull through it stayed at 200%. My Heartseeker stayed at 200%. My Spiritborn went from 175 to 165. So it seems like you can kind of make do somehow with movement. You can always put movement on the neck, right? It's a good roll on the neck now, for example. The hardcore event was a nice preparation for the next season, farming T3 all day. Yeah. And once you finally break into Torment 4, it feels so good, right? Like, this is actually what I really liked about the hardcore event as well. Like, both on this Necro and on the Spiritborn, it took me several days to finally break out of Torment 3, and now I was in Torment 4 and blasting, and it felt so good, right? Because my build was online, and I had something to work towards without being at the highest difficulty already, right? There was actually a goal. I wanted to reach it. And it might be kind of similar in Season 11. Anyway, I wanted to check Drive. Let's see it. F. Subumos. Work for your extra skill points. Yes. You remember there was a Twitch user named D4 login on my channel 1-2 year back in the day? He was so cute. Sure, I remember that guy. Holy loading times. Okay, so this is Drive. It's like this boots icon. Is that a timeout? Actually, does it remember the steps I've already taken, I wonder? For like almost walk 10 yards like this. Let's wait here a little bit and walk again. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. So 3 evades gives me a drive stack. 3 evades is more than 10. 1, 2, 3. Again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So I wonder when I get 2 stacks. 1, 2. Ah. So it took me roughly 5 times to save 1 evade. So 6 times actually, right? No, I had 1 stack at the start. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3. Interesting. So now at 10 stacks, I got the last one. I got like 1 extra save basically at the last stack. Really? Wait. Okay, now we just triggered it and let's wait. Okay, here it was 4 stacks where we saved 1. Kind of weird. Yeah, so I think 4 meters is pretty much exactly when you evade. I think the idea is that when you have a perfect roll, you get it exactly when you evade. It looks like it's 2 evades plus like a step or 2 to get trigger drive, which is 10 meters. But I mean, it's not good. That's a lot of additive. G8, that's 300%. Which for the typical Spiritborn build is probably in the range of 15 to 20% damage actually. Not terrible. A lot of movement speed. No evade mod though. Core ranks, not terrible. Impairment reduction, relatively useless. Pretty much every Spiritborn build is like perma unsolvable. Or close to that, I think. So that is kind of useless. But the other stats are actually premium. And this means you get it every evade. Invoke a core skill from your primary Spirit Hall. So it does not mean cast. And it potentially doesn't aim well. It likely doesn't aim well. I mean, barrier, 40%, pretty good. Easy to max out. You do an evade, you get a 2-second barrier. You do a evade, you get a... You also get a knockdown, actually. And it's hit by both by getting knocked down, which then can trigger this. So you wouldn't need Vortex, for example, or Revealing. But you generally have one or the other. But this could be a thing. I guess you don't try to actually do damage with that. Now here's another thing. Is there a chance you would run something like Loyalty? I don't think so. Loyalty for like Kappa builds is probably not a thing anymore. They buffed Harmony too much. I think the balance has shifted between Harmony and Loyalty too much. There was like a time when Loyalty was used with Kappa and the 60% resource cost reduction. But maybe that time comes back now that the cooldown tempers are nerfed. So you might go Loyalty, Gorilla, Crushing Hand, and the boots, and evade to get 3 Crushing Hands on top of the ones that they cast. But the problem is, you don't really want to evade when you don't have this. And you're not going to have this because you have Gorilla, and Loyalty. So there's actually no point at all to evade. And you don't even reset it either, because this. So this means that we're not gonna play a Crushing Hand build where we evade with those boots. I mean, okay, maybe in like T4 speed farming, you would get to the point where you sometimes just like randomly one-shot everything around you and you evade, but who really cares? You just fly around from pack to pack with Ravager and Jar Rune, and you don't care about this shit. So, next. We get Vuln, nothing, useless. Then we have this, we get Rage, we get Ferocity, so that is something. If you don't have another source of Ferocity, it's easy to not have another source of ferocity in 2025, because you don't necessarily run Jaguar secondary. So that is something. You also get a bit of cooldown, and nothing. So ferocity and cooldown, although very little cooldown. And then there's Stinger, where we get nothing. 10% heal. And nothing. Okay, so the options are 40% barrier, 10% heal, and ferocity. So this is basically what it comes down to. Is that good enough? I mean, 40% barrier does sound pretty juicy. Options. Can those skills produce anything else that is relevant? Stinger can produce pestilent swarms, but this will be only a Stinger build anyway. Rake cannot really do anything. Crushing Hand. I don't know, the thing is that you're just not gonna evade very much with those boots. You don't have attacks reduce evade cooldown. And you're not gonna have a lot of CDR, because usually you don't run a Shaco or evade cooldown tempers. You can't even put evade cooldown temper because it's boots anyway. So the only way to get the cooldown back is a Thunder Spike. You're not gonna be Thunder Spiking around. Especially because this thing gives you core skill damage and core skill ranks. My conclusion? Okay. It's a very confident, I have no idea. What about RMT, trading and duping? More or less impact, more or less enticing for those that do that? More impact and more enticing, I guess. Do you know if Violet aspect is working right? Can't even tell that it activates. It does, it works. Hi, Sheeple. What am I cooking? I'm just trying to figure out what happened. Basically, I did a bunch of like math examples of how our builds changed with like tempo and Masterworking changes. And now I'm trying to figure out how good are the new uniques. I think the Barb one is great. Druid is dead. Rogue helps, but it's only one build. Necro, sure. I think people will like to play the golem build. It sounds kind of fun for minion enjoyers to do something else, I guess. Sorc item is very good, I think. And Spiritborn, I don't know, dude. I have no idea about the Spiritborn thing. The Spiritborn thing is weird. I don't know what to do with it. I think this might literally just be used as a stat stick, honestly. It's basically this boots versus random legendary with duelist on it. When you look at some of the like Kapaleka builds or something, this might actually be what it comes down to. You just ignore the effect. And then just say, okay, it gives me like 15% damage from additive, or 20. It gives me like 3 ranks. That's like 10% or 15%. So yeah, does it compete with Duelist? It does, I guess. Like Duelist plus Dexterity, plus movement speed. So normal boots could have like, you know, something like Res Armor or Res Life or something like that. And here, let's say you don't need the defenses, you just equip this thing and that's it. And you just say, fuck the effect. I think that could be it. And okay, maybe you don't necessarily say screw this entirely. Maybe you still use it as some, you know, as this or this or this. So this is Centipede, this is Jaguar. It's only the primary. So you cannot do Eagle, which I think we will generally not do very much. So that's fine. I think what we will do generally a lot might be Centipede actually. Because we probably care about damage reduction a lot. I think Centipede main hall might be a reality. And Gorilla main hall might be a reality as well, thanks to Annealing Hits. Annealing Hits should probably still go strong. A lot of builds run Gorilla. I don't think that primary Jaguar is really a thing. And Ferocity is easily acquired in other ways, I guess. You can just do Jaguar secondary if you have to. So I think this is basically what it comes down to. And that's not terrible. Just getting some random 40% barrier once in a while is not terrible. And a bunch of damage that competes with Duelist Aspect and Dexterity. If you don't need death on a Spiritborn, good luck. Trash the boots and play the more fun Thorns. Yeah, we'll see what happens with Thorns. I mean, Thorns stonks, actually. Thorns definitely has some stonks here because it doesn't lose much compared to other builds. Like, other builds lose extreme amounts of, like, attack speed, crit, skill ranks. Thorns doesn't lose any of that. A little bit from Razorblade, if you even run Razorblade in the first place. What is stonks, though, is Prodigy's Tempo. That means Kapaleka builds thrive. And you know what also thrives for Kapaleka? Melted Heart of Selec. I'm pretty sure that Spiritborn Kapaleka builds of Selec Heart are going to be insane. They're going to be unkillable, ridiculous damage, and outperform like everything. I'm calling it now. It will depend a little bit on how Kapaleka interacts with the new 500 consumption cap. If you can, for example, still scale resource cost reduction, or if the 500 consumption cap now also respects resource cost reduction, then Selec will not be as impactful. How's power level looking in general? Season 10 versus 11? Expect to go down in pit tiers like 20 or 30 tiers lower, I would say. What about grouping? Could bonus and buffs on playing in a group become more pronounced? It's hard for those to become more pronounced. Group play is already an entirely different game. So it doesn't get much worse than in D4, to be honest, in terms of the gap between solo and group. Sanctify Season 11 theme? Yeah, it's part of the theme, it seems. Rushing Claw, okay, whatever. Concussive Stomp, whatever. Single target goes down. Potent. 1 second. Okay, I'm back. I think all of your ring changes are kind of whatever. I don't expect that we're suddenly going to use Ring of Midday Hunt. Dude, what stats does it have? I know it has attack speed and some knife on kill. Let me see that thing. So first breath is going to get changed. It's losing crit. And what else? Max life replaced with additive life. Crit chance replaced with resolve generation rate. That was actually a suggestion I made. They actually put it in there. Because crit chance is useless, because it's just used for evade build anyway, if anything. And you have Seeker there, right? So at least you can get the resolve that you need to make this work. So there's gonna be like an evade item basically, and probably not much else. At least this is not gonna be a big downside anymore, because previously this always just fucked up your resistances when you had these rings. Because they had like 37.5 to one and 37.5 to the other, which was just not enough to cap one of them. But then you also lost all the all rest, so it was even harder to cap all your resistances. So now you don't really care that much about capping stuff. That is kind of good. There's no cap anymore. So there's that. So this thing got a bit of an upgrade, but it basically just affects evade, and that's about it. Peacemonger is now minor improved. 15% damage, man. And armor. Train ferocity grants resolve. I mean, there's no shot we're gonna use this thing, right? Dodge chance, all stats per ferocity or resolve stack. And now you can't even master this thing up, so you have this. 6 all stats per ferocity or resolve stack. Holy. So we have 8 resolve stacks, and we have, let's say optimistically, 10 ferocity stacks. We have 18 times 6. So we almost get a dexterity roll here. Then we get nearly nothing, and effectively nothing. Okay, life on kill. Okay, this thing is fucking dead. So, and then you have Riffing Moon, which may or may not work with Eagle Main Hall. And is only for one build, which is very far from a meta build. So effectively all these changes are useless, I think. Okay. Okay. Jacob Shell basically nerfed. Armor percentage replaced with all res. Sounds like a nerf, basically. Damage reduction when injured replaced with dex. Okay. Spirit Hall. Jugger Main Hall. Sounds bad. That's all I can say. I mean, there might be a build here. Every 15th time you deal direct damage with Jaguar skill, unleash a Beast Strike for 100% weapon damage. Increasing all damage deal by 3%. Doubling Beast Strike's damage stacking 5 times. So the Beast Strike starts at 100 and can be doubled 5 times. Is that right? So 2, 4, 8, 16, 3200 weapon damage, huh? It doesn't sound that bad, actually. How often do we trigger it? Quill Volley? What's the temper? Really 5. Oof. Okay, so 8 times 1.5. Let's say 3 attacks per second. Let's say rebounding aspect. Let's say some Ravager going. Okay, So we took it 5 times per second. Let's say 5 times per second. 3200 weapon damage. I think Andariel's does somewhere in the range of 3000 weapon damage, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is comparable to an Andariel's proc. But we gain a key passive, which is not Noxious Resonance. And we gain crit synergy, which Andariel doesn't have. Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's not that bad, guys. At the very least, you can get a 15% damage buff, which... Does that beat any of the other Spirit Halls? And you get Potent, which is freshly nerfed. And you get Furnace, which is relatively bad most of the time. And for builds that are not Quill Volley or Fresh, it takes a long time to stack this up, actually. Like Stinger, you have to... Every 15th time. How often do you hit him 15 times with your skill, right? That's basically just Quill and Fresh. That's it. Maybe. All res is Fizz res 2 now. Yes. I mean, at the very least, they removed damage based on damage scaling, so I like that. Now, what about Fell Soothsayer aspect, by the way? So I'm gonna make a grand return. One-shotting bosses. Gorilla main hall, barrier. I mean, Gorilla, okay, that is fine. They're generally reducing healing and sustain and barriers. I think this is still gonna be a very powerful choice. Especially with the no cap. No cap, dude. Okay, and Centipede. Damage reduction per stack, 4%. That stacks 8 times, right? That is a lot, man. That is a lot of DR. 32% damage reduction, and you get poisons. Which is at the very least good for poison builds. Sorry, for thorns builds. We don't have many of those. We have Rock Splitter. Then we have Balazan, which already produces its own poisons. And I guess we have Payback. Payback is also a Thorns build. So that's it. Centipede main hall. 32% DR sounds crazy. Thorns. Rock Splitter. Payback. And survival. So this might be actually a thing. You might actually run this for the DR. I'm not sure if it can be a build. Total poison amount, 160%. Is that per hit? Hitting an enemy with a centipede skill reduces the damage. And now we have Wushnak Pa. How much is that? Oh, actually I realized we have to use Wushnak Pa for a Jaguar main hall build and for a Centipede main hall build. In both cases, you'll use this weapon, which is great with the cooldown. Supremacy ranks. Ultimate damage is useless. Dex life is nice, but no weapon temper, but that's okay. I actually think that Jaguar main hall might be something. Now we have one problem here. We have to use the Devourer for this. Oh no. So for this you have to use Devourer, which is very cool, but very useless. Not entirely useless, but relatively useless. Which means you basically get almost no resolution uptime, And we get these blobs that may or may not actually hit a target and only have 6-second uptime if you keep fighting in the same spot, which is, yeah, sometimes you summon your guy there and sometimes you don't, right? He casts it every 15 seconds, no matter what. So, yeah, there's like a little bit of uptime of a double damage buff. Which means we are generally gonna be kind of good on bosses, which is a good thing for poison builds, because they usually struggle on bosses. At least if the boss fights last at least 15 seconds, where we get to cast this guy once. Does the supremacy at 1 or 2? 1 only, on the GA. But it's still very powerful. It's gonna be very fun to try this, actually. Centipede main hall, Jaguar main hall. They could be real builds now. Okay. I think the power gap between legendaries and uniques will decrease. No, it will increase, I think. You gain a 4th stat, which is worth less than a temper in most cases. And you'll probably, I mean, you'll probably have to fill something with like life per hit and so on. Anyway. So I need to have some legendaries somewhere to get some healing and so on, I think. Chaos Ammo does not stay in Season 11. Okay. The rank 5 protector Thorns damage was being applied less than intended. I think Thorns Stonks. Thorns Stonks in general is actually kind of like a pattern, I think. So we'll see. So Protector might be a build. Gorilla Main Hall might be a build, or maybe a combination of these. There's definitely some cooking we can do. Oh, guys, I think I have to finish this tomorrow, though. I mean, we have time before the PDI anyway to start cooking builds and so on. So we're gonna be back to go through more patch notes. But it was very insightful already. I'm gonna make like a summary of like what I have found out today, which is actually kind of interesting with like how builds are gonna scale. Mighty Throw is going to be absolutely trash now. You basically can't run any unique armor if you want to hit 50% Mighty Throw size. Yeah, some stuff is going to be rough with like hitting certain breakpoints and so on. I think there's going to be a lot of builds that will like suffer, and then you have to like pivot over to some other changes and so on. Is Rogue good or nah? Rogue didn't really get much, to be fair. But I mean, Druid stonks are going down. Barb was behind Rogue anyway, and catching up a bit, I guess. Sorc stonks are going down. Spiritborn is looking good. Spiritborn is really the only class I think right now that just like looks good to me, to be honest. But I guess you'll see how it will work out. There's definitely like, you know, surprises. And we also have to see that all the mythics got kind of either directly or indirectly buffed. So there's some stuff there that will affect builds in a big way. Deadly ambush buff. Yeah, now works for dots. You now deal 50% increased crit damage, all damage, or time damage. Why don't it just make it 50% damage at this point? Like, why do we specify crits? Every rogue has 100% crit anyway. Who cares, then? That's kind of weird. It's kind of funny, they actually brought back the old bugged functionality that they patched out after some time. And now it's a feature. Full inventory sanctify gunbar soon. Oh, that's true. We're gonna have a lot of fun with that, I think. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna go offline early today because I have IRL stuff to do. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna send you guys somewhere. Anyone streaming? Where's our boys? Our macro bio boys or something like that? No? Okay. Who do you rate then? Maybe rate Fame. How about that? Yes. Okay, I'm gonna send you guys to Fame, so enjoy. A good one. Stay tuned for my YouTube uploads, by the way. I'm gonna have a few in the next days. There's a lot of stuff to discuss here.